Alright, let's unbox the new Mutants Omnibus. As always, here is the real star of the show. New Mutants by Louise Simonson, the Omnibus. Or New Mutants Volume 3 if you prefer. I don't. I prefer to think of this as Volume 1. This neatly collects all of Louise Simonson's run on New Mutants before Robert Liefeldman took over art, and the series started pretty much instantly, morphing into Excellent Force. This lines up really neatly with a bunch of Excellent Force collections. In my case, these old hardcovers, which are actually my favourite format of collections. These hardcovers. But yeah, they began exactly where the omnibus ends. So altogether, there's a nice big chunk of comics. But this is the New Mutants before Excellent Force, before Robert Liefeldman, and before Cables. Let's take this off. This was a variant cover they did around about 2013. They did a bunch of variant covers like this that were meant to be combined together, and you would have different eras of Excellent Men fighting the Centennials. Some other ones I remember they did included Generation Next. That one was by Crispin Halo. Age of Armageddon, I think that one was Joey Mental. Extreme Excellent Men by Sally LaRue. This one is, disappointingly, by Artist Adams, instead of any of the artists in this omnibus. On the back, we have the cover to issue 78, probably off by one. This will be the cover to 77 or 79. I am pointing this out because in what must be the rarest occurrence to ever happen on this channel, they are actually using the version that they recoloured for another collected edition. This was a cover to the Epic Collection. Cannot remember its name. Curse of the Velcros. It was Curse of the Velcros. So yeah, this is by Louise Simonsson. She took over writing the title from Christopher Clairvoyant. Most people think that she ruined the title, but in my eyes, she improved it dramatically. Her first issue is issue 55, which is a fun story where Cannonballs, one of the main characters in New Mutants, he pops some pills. And straight away I probably should point out the art by Bethany Belieber. Very cartoonish, very stylised. I like it. Another thing I really like, which most people seem to take issue with, is that many of the characters are both drawn and written to actually be young. Christopher Clairvoyant fans, they love to rail on this run and complain that Wolf's Girl and Cyber are acting like kids. And the reason I think that's bad is because they wasted their time reading 54 issues of these characters who are meant to be young being written as bland adults by Christopher Clairvoyant. Christopher Clairvoyant never wrote kids. He just wrote smaller adults. And he barely even wrote them. He was just writing more wank fodder for himself. He was just writing what turns him on. God forbid that the book starring children ever be about children instead of fetishes. Issue 56, another good issue. This one begins Louise Simonson's not entirely successful attempt to redeem M-Plate. The thing is, M-Plate isn't redeemable. He's pretty much just a serial rapist. The reason that it doesn't work is because she decides to paint him as romantic and never really has him even apologise for any of his wrongdoing. Emma Frosty's, though, she's great, looking beautiful the minute Christopher Clairvoyant stops writing her. This issue is fun. It has the New Muties going up against Emma Frosty's students, which include M-Plate. Yeah, the paper here is shite. Look at that. Just from fucking holding it. One thing we are exploring is Magmar and her attraction to M-Plate. We also introduce McNugget, this crazy bird thing that they adopt as a pet, kind of. Always loved how Mr. Magnet despises McNugget. That's another thing we'll get onto. People hated that Mr. Magnet was being evil. The stuff with McNuggets is very goofy, and he leads the team into their Fall of the Muties crossover tie-in. Fall of the Muties wasn't really a crossover. It was a branding for 3 stories going on concurrently in Uncanny Excellent Men, Extra Factors, and New Muties. Extra Factors is far and away the best of the 3 stories. New Muties is a second, but that isn't saying much. Some great art hidden in these Fall of the Muties, New Muties issues. Bethany Belieber really nails all these odd animal men, as well as our grotesque, crazy science man. There is quite a jarring tone though. We have these ridiculous monsters, but then the thing that the story is best remembered for is Cyber being shot and dying. When you have McNugget, it feels out of place to then have the quite downbeat and depressing death of a child. And the New Muties issues of Fall of the Muties are really only remembered for this. Not McNugget, or this island of monsters, or the crazy science tests. It's remembered for killing off Cyber. The characters reacting to the death of their friend is some of the strongest stuff Louis Simons does. Even Mr. Magnus' reaction is quite good. We have this issue, which again focuses on Magmar and M-Plate. We get to see some more of Emma Frosty's students. Magmar, she left the New Muties to go and study at the same school as M-Plate. I am never going to complain about an issue where I get to see Emma Frosty's. This is kind of where we're trying to do stuff with M-Plate. It all feels a bit Karma Houdini. Doesn't really atone or even recognise his past misdeeds. Just, we put Magmar in a position where she finds him attractive, I suppose. If someone wanted to take on the Herculean task of trying to redeem M-Plate, I'd be interested to see it, but I don't think Louis Simons really... I don't think she really understood how tainted this character was. Am I misremembering things? Like, he would always use his powers to make people do things that he wanted them to do. Was this character as bad as I remember him being? Christopher Clairvoyant would have him forcing people to fuck in front of him. Yeah, he tries to make those white people, Christopher Clairvoyant transformed into Native Americans, he makes them fuck. And he does do something with Firestark. And I remember the scene with Emma Frosty's because Bill son of a bitch draws it, and he should never draw Emma Frosty's. And then after this, most writers just have Emplate be a rapist again. We have an issue of Spellbound, which is a series and character I only know about because of Andy books. It stars this blonde woman, Spellbinder, and from the Andy books I can tell you she has thick thighs. The New Muties guest star in this one, and Spellbinder and the world of Spellbound. After the miniseries ends, you won't see them again. Iconic cover there, New Muties 64, Cyber being resurrected by the annoying robot, which is what eventually happens. And we're still dealing with the characters mourning the loss of their friend. I like that it goes on for a while. It makes sense, and it also makes the death seem like it is more permanent. Cyber stays dead until 1993, but that gets retconned. So in a way, he stays dead until 2010. But it makes sense that these children, and they are children, don't forget, Christopher Clairvoyant might have fooled you with his inadequate writing, but they are children, and they would obviously take longer to deal with the process. For many of them, it's probably the first death they have seen. Actually, has anyone died in New Muties before this? Mutie Mascara kind of muddies it up a bit. Oh, the Excellent Men. They were meant to have... No, wait. No, that hasn't happened. No, that's the same time as this. They were meant to have died in Fall of the Muties in Uncanny Excellent Men. So they're dealing with that at the same time as the death of Cyber. A subscriber likes Fork. I'm sure what they will like is a shirtless Fork. Who is it? Who likes Fork? Jerry B. Sounds like a Spice Girl, doesn't he? Jerry B. You can be a Spice Girl now. That's your new mythology. You're a Spice Girl who likes Fork from the Excellent Men. New Muties versus the Evil Brotherhood of Evil Muties of Evil. This is when they were the Mutie Police. We have some Powder Puff Pack as well. Didn't know about this guest appearance. Might have to add it to my wish list. There's Powder Puff Pack in all their adorable glory. One of them has light speed power. I can't tell you which, because halfway into the series, they swap powers. Were I to guess, I would say Katie Powder Puff Pack is the one with light speed powers. But it could also be Julie Powder Puff Pack. I think that's Julie. Like a lot of Marvel characters, she's gay now. Oh, it's starting to set up In Fairness. The crossover. I might have read this even. Now we've got an issue of Christopher Clairvoyant to enjoy. It doesn't even have Mark Stanley Lee art to make it look appealing. Not that there's out wrong with this. I don't like Christopher Clairvoyant. I'll just say that. And his fans are the fucking worst. New Muties Annual 4, part of the Digivolutionary War. And this continues on with Magma and Emplate. I believe this was my introduction to Emplate, which is maybe why I almost tolerate the idea of trying to redeem him, because in this you are completely unaware of his history, of all the raping and all the mind controlling. He's just seemingly a nice guy in this. Emma Frosty shows up, so that's great. Different how why they even bother reprinting these things. This is the saga of the iDigivolutionary, Chapter 4. Pretty much useless without chapters 1 to 3 and then 5 to 13. This is good though. Marky Mark writes it. Read all 13. It's good. And we're back with regular issues. This is the one where Cannonballs gans to a rock music concert. There's a kind of needless splash page. We eventually get to Infernus, another crossover, and we get the miniseries starring the X-Terminators. The 4 main characters will go on to join the New Muties. Time Bomb, Sphincter, Firefist, R.I.P. Firefist, and Skid Marks. This would have been a better page to do that. We've got them all in costume at the bottom there. That's very tasteful, isn't it? You might be interested to know what Infernus is about, but I've avoided mentioning it for a reason. It is Christopher Clairvoyant, evil demon nonsense. Evil demons try to open a gateway into the real world. Magic Girl, Anya Taylor-Joy, she's important. I like this splash page more than any of the story. There's Kevin Bacon getting his arse kicked by Mr. Magnets. Issue 77. I was off by 1. Firefist, he gets benched pretty much immediately. Being benched is just the beginning. R.I.P. Firefist. We have issue 81, which is a fill-in issue written by Christopher Clairvoyant. It's about Magmar and Hercules Man. Would have much preferred to see this written by Louise Simons. Running out of things to say. What am I meant to say about this incredibly long Fairyland saga? Then we've got an inventory story that never ran, that they then ran when David Cockburn died. It's not very good. That's this omnibus though. Didn't have much to say about it. I'll give it 7 thumbs up.